So sitting comfortably back. If you're more than 34 weeks pregnant, then you might want to just extend your legs out so that you're not crossing the legs over. Likewise, if you've got symphysis pubis pain, then you might want to take the legs out as well. If you want to stretch your legs, you can bring the soles of your feet together and come into this position. So you've got a couple of options, depending on what feels the most comfortable for you. And then just dropping into stillness, being aware of the ground beneath you and noticing all the parts of your body that touch the ground. So feeling the legs touching the ground, the buttocks touching the ground, the sitting bones touching the ground. And then from that kind of sinking down feeling to the lower part of your body, see if you can elevate the spine upwards. So you're creating a feeling of space in the middle of your body. So the upper part of your body is very gently elevating upwards, and the lower part of your body is gently sinking down. And just take a moment to notice how you feel. Maybe move your awareness around your body. Noticing how all the various parts of your body are feeling this evening. And noticing if there are in fact any areas that are feeling a little sensitive today. And knowing that you can always adapt or modify or even miss something out if it doesn't feel quite right for you. And then once you've moved your awareness around your body, you've made this assessment as to how you feel physically. Notice how you feel mentally. Notice what's going on in your mind. And this is also a very fluctuating entity. So the mind is very eclectic and it can change like the wind. So there may be some moments where you're feeling calm and peaceful, and then there may be moments where you're feeling very not calm and very not peaceful. And in pregnancy particularly, the hormonal landscape is quite chaotic, and this can have an effect on our emotions and on our thoughts. So it's not uncommon to feel angry or sad or unhappy or blissful or excited or scared all in the same 20 minutes. So just knowing that that is the case, and also recognizing and acknowledging that all of these emotional roller coasters will change. They'll change all the time. So you're never going to be stuck in any of those unpleasant emotional highs or lows. And specifically, yoga is very well known for bringing this kind of equanimity of emotional and mental balance. It's one of the things that it is very, very well known for. And one of the main access points to that is breath awareness. So if you now just shift your sphere of awareness to your breath, and begin by just noticing the feeling of the breath in the nose. So how does that feel in the nostrils? And then move the awareness of the breath from the nostrils into your throat. Feel the sensation of the breath in the throat. And then see if you can slightly change how the breath is in the throat. So we're going to create a very subtle restriction of the breath around the throat. So we call this Ujjayi breath in yoga, which means victorious breath. In English, we tend to call it ocean breath because it has the quality of sounding like the ocean. So we create a subtle restriction in the throat, very similar to what we would do if we were sighing under the breath. It's the same restriction of the throat that we make when we're cleaning our glasses, but we're doing it with the mouth closed. We're aiming to get that restriction on the in-breath as well as the out-breath. But if you've never done this before, then I would just work on the exhale initially. So every time you breathe out, just tightening gently the muscles around the throat as if you're sighing under the breath. And then you can breathe in normally, or if it's comfortable, you can maintain that restriction. So this slows the breath down, makes the breath a little longer, which has the advantage of actually bringing more oxygen into your body, which can help if you're feeling tired. We also have a slower, calmer breath, and how our breath is will help to balance what's happening in the mind. So when our mind is scattered, it's normally reflected in the breath, and the breath will be scattered. But if we make the breath smooth, slow, and gentle, then there's usually a corresponding similarity with the way that the mind is working. So this is how in yoga and in all the meditative arts and meditative techniques that there are, that we maintain this quiet, peaceful equilibrium. So just breathing in slowly, gentle, slightly sounded ocean breath. And then do the same on the out breath if you can. Gentle, slow. Now the next time you breathe in, just gently float your arms out to the sides. Take them up over the head, but keep the shoulders as relaxed as you can. Maybe just get a lift from the ribcage. And then as you breathe out gently, lowering the arms all the way back down. And what you can do as you're up against the wall is actually slide your arms against the wall and get a bigger stretch through the chest. So same thing again, as you breathe in, gently slide the arm. You're a bit stuck there, Kelly, you haven't got any wall. And then as you exhale, gently ease down. Just do that one more time. Notice how that gentle, slow breath informs the speed that you move. And it's very interesting when we begin to work with focused breathing, how everything we do slows down, everything becomes more mindful. So if you're ever at work and you're feeling stressed, you're feeling that you're rushing, just take 5 of those breaths and everything slows down. It puts you in a very different mental state. And that's why pregnancy yoga works so brilliantly to help people birth babies, because it's most of what we do is all based around the breath. And so you're very calm, very relaxed during your births. Okay, let's have a look at some sacral moves that you can do yourself. So as I was saying before, one of the things that we can do for the sacrum is to roll it out. And one of the best ways to do this is to actually lie on the back and give it a little bit of a roll out that way. Have you got a jump brick? Have you got one? I haven't got one. You've got one, okay. So a lot of what I'm going to be getting you to do today is squeezing. Squeezing that between your thighs, because that works the adductor muscles, which is going to help to kind of give a bit more internal stability for the symphysis pubis. Okay, and the other thing is, when we're transitioning, keep the legs together or keep them gripping. Because often when we come up and down, if you're kind of, which is the common thing to do, then that's going to be causing you pain. Even things like getting in and out of the car.
Yeah, turning in bed.
Yeah, so remember the turning in bed technique?
Yeah, I do that when I remember.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you need the toilet that desperate in the night, like, oh no.
Yeah, and if you're half asleep as well. Yeah, so keeping the, I always call it the kind of the Lady Diana way of getting out of the car.
Yeah.
Swing your legs out. Okay, so transitioning to lying down, and Claire's going to go Lady Diana fashion. So what you're going to do, I'll just show you first of all, we're going to lie on our back for a while, and that's going to push into the sacrum, so we can get a bit of a roll out for the sacrum. Now obviously I haven't got a baby in the way, so what will be comfortable for you will depend on how far into your pregnancy you are. Some of you can get your legs maybe closer than others, and if you're towards the end, you're going to need to take the knees quite wide. So you've got a couple of movements. So you can do a forwards and backwards movement of the legs, and what that does is kind of rolls out the back of your pelvis and the lower back. So that's quite a nice one. And then also we can circle the knees around, and that gets into the kind of side to side. So I'm thinking, Jen, this may be because you've got it on kind of one side.
Yeah, I have been doing that at home actually, and it really hurts, but it does help. Like, it hurts in a nice way.
Yeah, I did the same thing because I've had a similar. You know, you said you fell off the space off. I fell off a paddleboard. The wave. I was just the wave took the paddleboard backwards, and I came off and hit the deck from quite a height. It was like a cartoon. You see the cartoons and be like, and you're in midair. So I damaged my sacrum. So I have to do this, and yes, it hurts. When it's quite sharp, and then keep rolling it out, and it kind of sorts it out. Just one of them things, isn't it? Okay, so coming onto your backs, and finding where you comfortably want to have your knees, so to give your baby adequate space. So. And then once you've done that, bringing your hands onto the knees, and then just start by gently pushing the knees forwards and backwards. So pushing the knees away and then bringing them towards you. And notice how that feels for the sacrum. And as I was saying earlier, if you have got any congestion there, there might be a little bit of a sharpness to it initially, but if you can bear with it, if it's not too uncomfortable, you might be able to roll it out and to get rid of the congestion. If you're not getting very much from that, or you feel that you've done all that you want to do with that move, try to circle the knees around, so making circle movements. And that gets into a different part of your sacrum. So you might find now a different experience, a different sensation. And then try rolling the other way. And then once you're ready, you can just drop the feet down onto the ground. So we're going to do a little bit of hip opening. And Claire, if this doesn't feel right for you, we can adapt it, and you can do some squeezes instead, or some feet presses. So we're going to come into reclining pigeon pose. So you're going to take the right leg and place the ankle, the outside ankle, onto your left thigh. And then you're going to take your arms back behind you. It's quite nice to stretch the upper part of your body. Sorry, maybe I should have said, come away from the wall. When you put your arms on the ground, try to make sure that all of the arm touches the floor. So you may have to take your arms wide, and you may particularly have to take the wrists wider than the elbows, and that'll give you a really nice stretch in the upper back. So we're going to work very slowly here just to build this stretch. So particularly those of you that are having a bit of hip niggle at the moment, take it very, very slowly. As you breathe out, just drop both knees towards the right, just as far as you're comfortable with. And then as you breathe in, come back to the centre. And that's all we're going to do. And you can just develop that as and when you feel that it's going to be comfortable for you. So it might just be a little move, or you might get quite a lot out of the hips and out of the lower back. So you go to where you feel most comfortable. And just stay with that ocean breath. Notice how it completely changes how you approach the movements. When we integrate this slowing down breath, the quality of the movements changes and it becomes much more mindful.
You
So
feel that in your bum cheek, Julie?
you feel it where you're tightest. That's always my rule of thumb, because some people will feel it different. I've got this in my left lumbar. Some people will feel it in one of the hip joints. Some will feel it in the lower back. Some will feel it on the belly. And some, as you, will get in your butt. So it varies. So the next time you bring yourself back to the centre, if it's comfortable, see what happens if you lift the left knee off the floor. Now, obviously, if you're towards the end of your pregnancy, you're not going to have a lot of space to bring the leg up any further. So it may be that you can only bring it so far up. And then once you brought the leg up, circle them around, just as we were doing before. And then release. Come out of that, lower the left leg, lower the right leg. And then place the left ankle bone over the right thigh. Keep the arms back if you want to. If you're getting pins and needles in the arms, then you might want to bring the hands back down. So you choose what feels good. Ujjayi breath, the ocean breath. As you exhale, take both knees towards the left this time. And as you breathe in, gently draw the legs back up. So just going to carry on, just exploring these movements, gradually deepening them as you see best for you. And what you might find is a different part of your body is stiff on this side. So you might not have the same sensation or the same experience, that'll be Karen, on this side. So just notice the difference. And that in and of itself is really common as well. We are rarely the same on both sides. We are very asymmetrical beasts, human beings, and we often have different experiences. So the next time, we'll just do 2 more times, coming over to the left, noticing if things are loosening. Does it feel different now to the very first repetition that you did? And hopefully it does feel different. And then when you come back this time, keeping the legs where they are, or the left leg where it is, lift the right knee off the ground. And you can bring the knee in just as far as you're comfortable with in relationship to your baby. And then just try circling the legs around so you can really feel this getting into the hips now. Because you've got these hip articulations, you might feel a very different sensation working into the sacrum. And then you can gently lower the right leg, undo the left leg. And then from here, having the feet on the ground, push your feet into the floor and just gently lift the hips away from the ground, and then just wriggle the hips a little bit from side to side so that you can really feel into the space in the pelvis. And then gently lower the hips all the way back down. You're just going to do that 2 more times. So push the feet into the ground, gently lift the tailbone, pelvis, the lower back off the floor. And then again, from here, just maybe jiggle the hips around. So lift one hip, lift the other hip. Just find some space in the lower back. And then gently peel the spine all the way back down. And then just doing that one more time. So it's quite a nice opportunity to work with the back bend, which when you're pregnant, there aren't many opportunities to work with the back bend. And then gently easing all the way down. So from here, we'll do a little bit of hip strengthening work. So if you want to roll onto your side so that you're facing this way, which will mean that half of you will do one leg and half will do the other leg, because you're going to do the top leg. Did you get them?
My other half came with a fishing rod. And the man in the co-op lent me a litter picker.
Amazing.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
And the buttons still work on the car.
Excellent.
Even though they've been in water.
Even the fetid water.
Yeah.
Oh, at least you get them. So, lying on your side, support your head in your hands. So, some of you will have done these with me quite a lot, and they are important ones to do because symphysis pubis dysfunction, SPD, can happen to anybody at any time in your pregnancy, and these are some of the moves that we use to actually prevent it from happening. So, if you're thinking, well, I've got SPD, no, you won't have, hopefully, if you do these practices regularly. And if you do have it, it's quite a good remedy for it as well. So you bend the knees and you keep the ankle bones together. So the ankles are going to stay together. You can use your top hand to support you, and all we're going to do is move the top leg. So you're going to breathe in, lift the top knee, and then the knees open up like a clamshell. And then as you breathe out, you slowly lower the leg down. And we're going to try and do that 10 times. What you might find is it really pulls in either the outer thigh or the groin or the buttock. And if it's pulling, it normally indicates that there's a weakness there somewhere, which means that you need to get these muscles strong. So pelvic girdle pain is normally a sign of weakness in the pelvic girdle muscles, and they're the muscles, there's quite a few muscles that form this girdle. So things like your glutes, your adductor muscles running up the insides of the legs, the pelvic floor, hip flexors, what else is there? Quadratus lumborum at the back. So basically all the muscles that surround the pelvis need to work synergistically. So it may not necessarily mean that there's weakness there, but it might mean that some of them are hypertonic. So if you've got some that are stronger than others, then it's going to be out of balance. Okay, have you done 10? Are you counting? No? Well, I'm not, because I'm talking. Okay, and then you can relax. Can you feel that kind of burning and that heat in your hip now where you've worked? So now extend the top leg and push the heel away. And just slowly move it forwards, just as far as it will come. And then slowly move it backwards. How's that for you?
Really painful.
Okay, so just take it to where you can. Okay.
It's my left hip that's worse, it's my right sacrum.
Right, yeah, that's probably because if your left hip is tight, your right sacrum's going to pop. Yeah, so you often find that. So, does it feel weak or is it just
It's that pain like down the outside. And it's when I sleep that it's the worst. It like at night I get this pain all the way down the side I sleep on, so then I have to turn over to the other side.
Can I give you
and get
something
pain.
different, Jen? So you're going to do something different. You're going to bring the knee up and you're going to circle it around. So you're going to do the opposite. You're going to open it. Oh, something, did you hear that? So once you've done 5, you can relax, because that's quite a strong one, that one. Now, if you want to open the hip, you can also do this. So you can bend the knee in towards your chest and just circle it around. If you'd rather just continue with the strengthening, then you can just lay the leg on top of the other leg and squeeze.
Yeah, that's better now. The
Yeah.
first one was really painful bringing it up, but now
Yeah, because something clicked, something moved. This is what I was saying about the osteo. It sounds more structural than soft tissue, to be honest. Okay, so from here, I'm just thinking, how best can we? I think you're just going to have to do this. Come up, swing over to the other side. And then we're going to do the same again. So supporting your head in your hand and having the knees together, the ankles touching. So it's funny how the back row rolled over and everybody else swiveled so that they were still facing the front. So ankles touching, and then the same thing again. I'm just going to lift the top knee with the ankles staying together. And then we're going to lower the knee down. So we'll do that 10 times so the ankles stay together. And what you're looking for here, you're not trying to get the knee up as high as it will go. You want to keep the hips level. So it's quite easy to take the knee up and quite some way back. But then if all you're using is your lower back rather than your hip muscles, then you're not doing the strengthening work. So actually you need to keep the hips fully straight, fully level. Don't try to think, oh, how high can I get my knee? What you want to get is this feeling of these gluteal muscles, these hip flexor muscles really having to work hard. Okay, so once you've done your 10, just extending the top leg, keeping it parallel to the floor, push the heel away, and then slowly move the leg forwards, and then slowly move the leg backwards. So again, we don't want to swing the leg, we don't want momentum to be doing the work, we want the muscles to be doing the work. So it should feel effortful. We're aiming for 5 of these because it's a lot harder work than the clown. And then once you've done 5 of these, you can just let the leg go. And then if you want to do the loosening, you bring the the top leg up to the chest, circle to the ceiling, and then just start to circle that leg around. And then you can release it and come down. So from here, you're going to push up and come up onto your hands and your knees. So those of you that are the wrong way, you have to come all the way around. Otherwise you'll be facing the back of the room. So we spend a lot of time on all fours in these classes because it's one of the best ways to actually access the spine, which is often one of the areas that we focus on because a lot of pregnant women suffer with backache, but it's also a good way to get into the hips. But mostly it's the best position for labour, particularly if it's the first stage of labour. So the first stage of labour is about the opening of the cervix, and that's the bit that goes on, and then you're just waiting and waiting and waiting for the cervix to dilate. And so what you want to do in that part of the labour is to find a position where you can really help and move your hips and do some hip circles or some hip movements. So we spend a lot of time on all fours. In reality, in labour, you're not going to be on your hands. You'll probably be leaning over a ball, or you'll be using something else, like leaning over at the edge of your bed, leaning over something, anything. Because you could be here for 7, 8, 9 hours. So being in this position isn't going to, not unless you want really good biceps, it's not achievable. But obviously in the class we don't bring the balls every week because it's just a bit of a pain. But we will do a whole session on the ball, and you'll notice the difference. Some of you have already done a ball session. It's the world of difference being on all fours like this or being over a ball. It's so much more achievable. So coming on to your hands and your knees. And just circling the hips around. So you're making a circle with your hips. So this is one of the moves that we do for dilating the cervix. You're going to do a different breath now. This is another calming breath. So this is the straw breath, where you breathe in normally through your nose and then you blow your breath out as if you had a straw in your mouth, and it makes the exhale again long, it makes it slow, gives you control over the breath. Now if you want to, you can do the straw breath on the inhale as well. So you can kind of suck the breath in through the imaginary straw, and you can blow the breath out through the imaginary straw. Now, in addition to doing this as labour preparation, it's also good for the sacrum. You can fix a bit of another so you're doing the same thing that we did on upside down. We were on the back and we had the weight of the body rolling out the sacrum, but this is also getting some relief into the sacrum. Okay, so from here, can you slide your right knee forwards and the left knee back, unless it's going to be prohibitive for your SPD. Is that okay?
All right, yeah, that's all right.
So we're just going to rock the hips from side to side. So this is another hip and sacral move. So drop the right hip towards the right side, you drop the left hip towards the left side, and you go as far as you can. You might be inhibited again by your bump, depending on where you are in your pregnancy. So this is a modification of pigeon pose, which is a very classical yoga pose. We don't tend to hold a lot of these poses for a long time in pregnancy because we've already got very soft ligaments and fascia. So from here, if you want to, you can come into a downward facing dog if you want to have a bit of a stretch of the lower back. However, if your wrists or your shoulders are not feeling up to it, then you can give this a miss. So tuck your toes under, lift the sitting bones to the ceiling. It's quite nice to have a little bit of a play around here. Don't worry about getting the heels to the ground. It's much more important to get some length into the spine. So if you're not comfortable coming into downward dog, then you can come into cat pose, lean back into child pose, and do a variation that is going to feel much more comfortable for you. So you can choose what pose you want to work with. And again, we don't hold this pose for too long in pregnancy because it raises the blood pressure, and actually your blood pressure is already under quite a lot of strain. So 3 breaths is about the maximum, and then you can come back down onto your hands and onto your knees. And then you're going to take the left knee forwards this time. So slide the left knee along the ground, bring it all the way forwards between your hands, and then just dropping the hips from side to side. So one hip comes over, and the other hip. And then pushing back onto all fours. And then if you want to, you have another downward facing dog, or you can come into child pose, again, whatever feels right for you. And then coming back onto all fours. So now from here, slide the right leg back, have the toes tucked under, and just push the heel away. Keep pushing the heel away for a few breaths. So if you get cramp at night, this is your stretch to do before you get into bed. It works like magic to get rid of pregnancy cramp.
Got a new one this time in my ankle.
Yeah,
Left
nice.
ankle. Like, I didn't know you could get cramp in your ankle.
Yeah, it's weird where you I used to get my hip, you get it on your instep, and that's horrible.
Yeah, I've
If
got
I-
that before, but like literally my whole ankle feels like.
I had toe cramp. I was driving back
I get
from,
toe cramp all the time. It's so
driving back from Derby
Oh,
last Saturday. I'm down the A38 and I'm getting like toe cramp. So I pulled into Sainsbury's on Kingsway and I sat in the car park because I thought I can't actually drive. And normally, and I sat in that car park for ages and then I had to walk around. But I can't drive home with toe cramps. It's really not a good idea. Yeah, nasty. So slide right leg all the way around. We'll do a little bit of hip opening. So again, it may be that some of these movements, like you can see by your face,
That's not too bad, is it? Just at the back now.
there's a sort of slight tentativeness, which I think is good. You're kind of testing the water, but I think with a lot of these, once you start moving, it's actually going to make a
I mean,
difference.
less pain in class than I've been up all day. I can't like bend over to the dishwasher or like lean forward or anything today. It's been agony.
Yeah.
Walking's in straight lines fine and sitting's been fine, but any other movement's been awful. But this isn't like
But
this
so I
isn't
think a
awful.
lot of the time in pregnancy, hips need movement, and it's just one of my real. You hear me moan about this all the time. That the health service do not recognise movement as a healing modality, and actually a lot of things that a lot of people do, like back problems, move it. You know, but they don't. They give you a tablet and then they give you surgery, and they're the only two options. But actually, a lot of the time, you just need to move it. Okay, so from here, push into that right leg and allow yourself to rise up. Then take the arms up over the head, interlace the fingers and push the palms away. Now see if you can sink down a little bit more into the hips. And then as you sink down with the hips, can you lift the ribs up? Can you get a bit more of a stretch through the front of the body? And then take a breath. And then release the arms, interlace them behind you and squeeze the shoulder blades together. So this is stretching the front of the chest. This is a great counter stretch if you've been sitting in front of a PC all day or hunched over a steering wheel all day. And then release the hands. Lower them all the way down to the floor. And then we're going to have a little twist here. So you're going to keep the right hand on the floor. You're going to turn the belly to the left. So we have an open twist. So in pregnancy, we twist to the open side. Keep rotating the belly to the left. And then just gently float the left arm up to the ceiling. And then release the hand all the way down to the floor. Slide on the back now. We're going to do a little bit of squatting here. So again, if you've got low-lying placenta, if you've got a cervical stitch, don't think anybody's got a cervical stitch, and the SPD, it might be a bit iffy. So you might want to do something else. Maybe do the, this one, and then go back so you can change it up. Otherwise, if you're comfortable with squatting, what we're going to do is, if I come backwards, it's easier to see. The wider we have our feet, the easier squatting is. If we have our feet really close together, if you look, you can't get the heels anywhere near the floor. But if the feet are a bit wider, the hips will allow you to kind of get in more easily. And it may be that it's not going to happen, and it's okay, you haven't got to get the heels on the ground. What we can do is swivel around. So shift the weight into your hands and just swivel on the balls of your feet. So if you're holding the squat, what I would suggest is a good solid pelvic floor. I broke my waters doing that when I was pregnant, but I squatted all day and I was only 26 weeks pregnant. I gardened and I squatted. I must have been squatting for about 5 hours, weed in the garden, and then later on that day my waters broke, and I swear it's because I spent all day squat, all that pressure. So just as a warning, so keep it moving and then come out, have a stretch of the legs. Yeah, didn't spend too long in that position. And then the other thing I was going to suggest with this one is it's a nice one for the sacrum. So that was why I was suggesting, if you can get the heels on the floor, and you can bring the hands to the inside, and even if you just hold it for a couple of, I'd take the feet a bit wider, Jen, your feet are a bit too close. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then, can you feel that stretch in the sacrum? And you can even just wiggle into it. So this is a really good stretch for the lower back, and particularly the sacrum. And you can get into it comfortably.
Yeah.
So brilliant. So I would do this from time to time, but as I said before, it's not one that you really need to spend a lot of time in, just little and often. But if you can squat, it's great because it is the #1 position for delivering babies. So if you're comfortable squatting, which a lot of you are, that bodes really well. So when you come to deliver your baby, which is stage 2, which is the pushing stage, this is your best position to come into. Okay, so back onto all fours, and then the left leg extends. So toes touch. I'm going to push the heel away and just hold this for a few breaths, and lengthen out the calf muscle. Or as we were just discussing, it's a good cramp stretch. It might not necessarily be the calf, it might be the ankle, the instep, the toes, the hip, all these different places that are prone to cramping. And then from here, circle the leg all the way around to the front of your mat. And then just gently shift your weight forwards and backwards. So loosening up into the hip. So when you come forwards, if you can particularly get your the right thigh as off the vertical as you can, actually that's a lovely demo there, Harriet. So you've done yoga before, haven't you?
I teach dance, so.
Yes, very flexible body. But if you can see with Harriet, as she comes forwards, her hips have come forwards and her back leg is off the vertical. Now she's got a lovely quad stretch. So your quads are the muscles at the front of your thigh. And then what I would say is you need to make sure that if you are coming forwards, make sure that your shin is still upright. So as you come forwards, Kaylee, you've got the great flexibility in the hips, but just make sure that your foot is under the knee on that front leg, otherwise it strains the ligament. Yeah. Okay. And this kind of stretching the quad, again, it's very difficult to stretch these muscles. It's all part of the back bend sequence, but when you've got tight quads, it pulls the pelvis forwards, which then hurts your back. So stretching the quads is really useful as well. So you're going to push into the left foot, rise up as we did before, and then sweep the arms out to the sides, up over the head, interlace the fingers again, push the palms away, push the palms to the ceiling, and then just sink down a little bit. How does that feel? But as you sink down, make sure that your shin remains vertical and that your knee is always placed on top of your ankle and not further forwards from it. So Charlotte, you could probably have a ½ an inch further forwards with your foot actually. I think you've got the capacity to, yeah, and a bit more. Now you've gone down, can you see? You need to come a bit more. Go on, go on, and more. Yeah, you've got really loose hips. The only thing that's stopping you coming any further forward is you need to bring your foot further forwards. Yeah, you can keep going, keep going, keep going. Can you feel the difference? Now
Yeah.
you've got that lovely stretch in the back leg. And then reach the arms back behind you, interlace the fingers, Squeeze the shoulder blades together as well. Get that lovely stretch across the front of your chest. So this is something else that we don't often get to stretch out, and it's often a very tight part of the body. And then release the hands down onto the floor, and then we're going to do this open twist again. So the left hand stays on the floor, we turn the belly to the right. Just keep turning the belly to the right. I would leave the arm to the end, because sometimes if you haven't rotated enough and you try and take the arm up, actually what you're doing is you're kind of pulling the arm out of the shoulder socket. So you want to hope that your right shoulder is vertical to the left before you float the arm up. So just make sure you've got the rotation first. And if it isn't, if you haven't rotated very far, you can always just keep the hand on the hip. And then release. And come down. And then come back. So we're going to come into child pose, another good stretch for the lower back and the sacrum. So you need to make space for your baby between your knees, and that will vary. Some of you only need a little tiny space, and if you're towards the end of your pregnancy, you're going to need a lot more space. Now from here, tuck your tailbone under. Some of you have gone straight back, so just check that you rounded the back first, because there's a real difference. And let's have a sort of an experiment. Flatten the back, go back onto heels. That's all right, innit? It's all right. Come back up, tuck your tailbone under, arch the back, round it up like an angry cat. Now go back onto heels. Feel the difference? Now you've got a massive lumbar stretch. And this is a really important stretch because it's decompressing your lower back. And actually when you're pregnant, your lower back gets compressed all the time. So this is a bread and butter pose where you're rounding back, going back onto the heels and decompressing the lower back. Can you feel the difference with it? And then push the shins into the ground, rise all the way up, and then just come back into a neutral position. So we're going to do a little bit more with the hips now. We're going to do one of my favourites, dog up the lamppost, which is exactly what it says on the tin. So you're going to inhale, right knee comes out to the side, and exhale, bring it down. And again, inhale up, exhale down. So this is a pelvic girdle strengthener, but if it's pinching anywhere, it's not completely comfortable, then you give it a miss. Okay, and when you lower down this time, stretch the right leg out again. Now this time plant the foot flat on the floor, let the left shin go back slightly and stretch out. And then reach the right arm over the head into the middle of the room, so that you're stretching from the fingertips into the outer edge of the right foot. And then circle the arm down, rotate back onto the ball of the foot, bring the knee back down. And then we're going to do the same on the left side. So dog up the lamppost on the left side, inhaling, lift the knee up, exhale, lower down 5 times. And we're doing that 5 times. Slide the left leg all the way back behind you, plant the foot flat onto the floor, slightly take the right shin back, and then just open up. If you want more stretch, you can drape the left arm over the head. And circle the hand down to the floor, rotate back. Bring the knee to the ground, and then we're going to do that cat pose into child again. So knees apart, tuck the tailbone under, round the back, and then take your hips all the way back onto your heels and have a little sway from side to side. Okay, and come up. So we're going to do a little bit of sacral massage. Are you all happy to work with a partner and to touch each other's pelvises? And if you're not, it's absolutely fine. You can maybe watch and show your partner at home how to do it, and I'll pair up with somebody else. I don't want somebody to do something they're not comfortable with. Are you all okay? So do you want to pair up? And what I would suggest is, it's quite nice if we have 4 chairs. So in each pairing, one of you is going to be having the massage and the other one's going to be doing it. And because you're on all fours, shall I just come and just practice on you for a moment then, Jen? So what you would do is put the chair up against the wall so it's not going to go anywhere. And then depending on how you're feeling, you might want to have the cushion on the chair because you're going to put your elbows in, but you might also want something underneath the knees. So Jen's just going to come, lean on the chair, she's going to make her back as flat as she can, so you can rest down. and then I've got complete access to her sacrum, and then I'll talk you through a range of things that we're going to do to ease out. There's a bit of knuckling, there's a bit of rubbing. And you can do it standing, so this is kind of a nice position. Am I okay to touch you?
Yeah, that's fine.
So you can do it standing, or if you prefer, you might want to come into this kneeling position and then do the same thing here. Okay? So if you want to set yourself up like that, you're all right as you are, Jen, you can stay. And I'll bring the rest of your chairs over. Shall I put yours here, Claire? Thank you. You know what, Karen? Yeah. So set yourself up, we've got cushions, pillows, touch your knees. And do you want, so you've got a bit more space than Kelly, she's a bit shoved in the corner. So is that okay to put that on here? There we go. And you happy to work with Kelly? Yeah. And you two have to work together, right? So decide who's going to be the receiver. And then make sure that you're comfortable. So both of you need to be comfortable. So whether that means having the pillow on your chair, having something under your knees, just make sure that you're comfortable. And then the person who's going to have the massage, just get yourself ready, get yourself on all fours, leaning over the chair, and you don't have to do anything. You just have to like sit there, kneel. Yeah. Okay, so the person who is on the chair, you can bring your head down if you want, because you want to completely relax here. There's nothing to see. So just as Jen's doing here, just completely relax. So I'll come around, but I'll kind of do a little bit of demo. So the first thing you're going to do, and it's okay if I borrow you, Jen, is you're going to use either the heel of your hand or your fingers, and you're going to do some rubbing. Now, my sacrum is here. If you're not sure, come and have a look. So this is the sacrum. It's like a triangular bone which starts at the brim of the pelvis, and it goes down in a triangle until it reaches the coccyx, and then the coccyx carries on under the pelvis. So it's quite a big area, and we're particularly looking at the joints here. So it's where the coccyx, it's where the sacrum joins the two other brims of the pelvis. This is the dodgy bit. So this is the bit we want to massage over. So we can start by just doing some rubbing. How's that?
Yeah, that's fine. Is that quite firm?
It's quite firm, and actually the thing is, we're often a bit delicate here because we think, oh, pregnant woman, let's be nice. That isn't going to do anything. That, Jen's going to go, oh yeah. And actually, it can take quite a lot of pressure. So we're going to do that to start with. So you want to just rub around where, and then as you know, get lots of feedback. So if you're standing as well, you need to make sure you're comfortable. So bend the knees, straddle.
Yeah,
You're alright standing. Would you be better? Kelly? And then you walk that. And you go,
Because
I mean, you might want to do it like that. So you find.
I always keep
It's
saying
more weight. That looks good. Hayley. Nice technique.
Kids don't get any friction burns.
Try side to side. Yeah, like, more like that.
I love to do
And then it's easier on your feet.
Oh my god, you're amazing at that. You've got
You're
such a good No, I don't know, I've just tried it. I do actually,
Yeah, you just want to kind of get in there. So
that's good, yeah.
we've got a winner over here. We've got heel circles. So yeah, play around. And the thing is that you're going to swap over and you're going to be the receiver and the doer.
Yeah.
And what this means is you can go home and show your partner how to try. Right, you go around each other's houses.
It does feel really solid.
Yeah, it's surprising actually how nice this is, and that if you've never had this done before, particularly if you've never had it done in your pregnancy, it's absolutely divine. And you can see the mums who are having it done are all dribbling now. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, after you've kind of loosened the area up, is we're going to do some thumb drags. So can I borrow you, Sheila? Is that okay? So if you're doing the massage, you might want to come and have a look around. Now again, what you want to do is get your body weight to provide the effort, not your shoulder. So what you don't want to do is this, push down, because that's going to make you tense. What you're going to do is, see this? Body weight. My arms aren't doing anything. So I'm leaning in with my body weight. I'm starting at the top. I'm giving my body weight, and I'm just going to drag my thumbs. And actually, you can even go all the way round to the outer hip, and if there's any hip pain as well, coming all the way out adds that extra bit of juiciness. And then you go back, and then just go one thumb width down, and you go again. And so eventually, you'll cover the whole area. You can then go back up as well. So thumb drags, starting in the middle. When you swap over, I'll go try to do it again.
You can get your pull straight
Yeah.
and you're in the middle.
I'm not as smooth as she was.
Bend your knees a bit, Karen, that's it, and then lean your body weight
Or it
in.
feels like it anyway.
Okay, good. How's that?
That was a bit better, but
That's it. I'll just get pretty.
most are moving.
But don't forget, use your body weight to provide the effort rather than trying to push down with your body. So with your thumbs. Is that getting
Yeah, it feels really
right
nice.
where you need it? Yeah. This is gold dust.
I thought I'd be wincing more though.
Well, because we've done a lot of movement.
Yeah.
That's why I'm doing this at the end. Because if we did it in the
I was
beginning,
gonna say,
I'm working on with people though, so I don't actually get very much massage. It isn't there somewhere. Like, I have
you might need to do some of these, all the ones that we've done tonight. First of all, but actually,
Knowing what to do
I've
and
got
what
years,
better.
I've got flat thumbs from years of it.
I've been, physios made me do that one for a few years ago when I had sciatica, and they can't run me
That's really good effort in there.
you're going down as well, Harriet?
Yeah.
We'll go down. You're back up now. Okay. I got snow down.
I know, it happened until today. You don't have to come.
Okay. So, you're a physio?
Yeah. No wonder it was amazing.
I keep it true. I keep it.
Yeah. And then the last one. Do you want some more? Or you?
And I said like, well, I like it quite good. Although I have
One more.
Yeah.
Knuckling.
really tight actually because
So I'll try. You've watched your partners, so I'll do it. So you want to sit in the middle? Yeah. Hello. Do you want to come to the last one? Knuckling. It looks horrendous, but this is the best one, and actually then we'll go, oh yeah. So you want to kind of find that little groove, and you lean in again. How's that?
It looks really hot, and I'm putting a lot of pressure. I'm not messing about here. There's a lot of pressure going down there, and then you move down. And go again. So, yeah, you might take the Venus. I'll carry on actually. As well, Carrie's not here, might as well. He might as well move as well.
Yeah, honestly, I've heard him to move all day.
I'm literally at home on the same.
I'll let you celebrate that.
Yes, you do. What I find is
Literally
it's
put like 2 things in the dishwasher.
and so
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
Although I
Go
have
for
like a cyst here.
Can you type it?
Yeah, I felt it felt a lot more raised on the right side
Yeah, I got
of the
massive.
Yeah.
I've had it for a few years. People just did the
Yeah.
But no, it is this side that's really
Yeah,
hurting.
it definitely
So I left
felt.
it here and my
Yeah,
right
yeah,
side.
definitely felt this side like way more raised.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, I'm not
sorry.
trying this one, we've been chatting. They said I've got a cyst on my right side on my lower back because she was saying it feels raised. I was like, oh, I've got like a benign position.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if that's kind of you know, putting things slightly out of
It's just
balance.
yeah.
That looks good. That's a nice Yeah, it's when you said that, it's just some people just go, but actually, no, it's much and then she just she must have been really out and she came in yeah, come back and do finding yoga classes and do every week. We'll just keep it. Do you want to swap over? And then I'll show you all again. I won't expect you to.
I'll have a go, although if I'm rinsing too much, Julia might have to take over my position.
Do you want to see what it is? Then she can show you how to do it.
Honestly, I feel so much
Okay, so first movement is the kind of the gentle massage. Can I borrow you, Karen? So you're going to go over this triangle bone, sacrum here, and you're going to
My coccyx goes the wrong way, sorry.
jiggle around like this. You can use your knuckles, you can use the heels of your hands. You just want to kind of warm the area up. So remember, if you're standing, bend the knees a little bit, offer your body weight. And also, if you're having the massage and you're thinking, you know what, I could probably have a bit more pressure, let them know. Because the tendency is to actually be a little bit, as I said before, a little bit tentative, especially if you don't know the person whose pelvis you're currently So you can go down. So you want to say, this is kind of the area.
It's actually not tight.
That's very easy.
And I was just like, it's okay to do it.
How many weeks are you?
My first
No, it's only Claire.
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, so now you're going to change it. It's about to
Oh
my god, like I'm like a new person.
I don't do that. I don't do
Until about 17 weeks, so I reckon that wasn't
So once you've warmed up the area, you can then do the thumb drag.
Yeah.
Thumb drag. You start at the top of the pelvis, lean in with your body weight again, don't use your arms, and just drag your thumbs out to the side and maybe even around. And you come back and just go down. And you slowly make your way down the pelvis. So every time you come back to the centre, you move down your thumb width. See if you soften your knees a bit and then look at the knees again. That's a bit easier.
So what's your first? Do you know what you're having this time?
Another little bit on
Yeah, that's nice, thank you.
she's excited.
Yeah.
I don't think she
Yeah.
realised.
Yeah.
It's the reality.
Do you not think it
We can find out this right now.
And then the last one, if you want to, is the knuckling. So you want to use your knuckles to go kind of vertically up and down, and roll the knuckles along the two sides. So going long ways all the way down.
Tried to go hands on the top of the
It does feel nice, doesn't it? It's like someone's wife there.
I live in Whittington.
Oh yeah.
It's not too far.
Husband is obviously.
Oh, does he?
The 40 degree. Have you done any nails for a while?
Yeah, one thing just built my nose.
top 5 countries on there. And he didn't stop me once, you know, they're like, oh,
I'm really interested for a boy.
yeah, boys do
It's
that.
so hard.
And
Yeah, we've got still there. I don't know when.
Okay. Notice how that feels.
I've still got a bit of pain going over because I literally came into the class 6 weeks before I was in because no one was choosing and stuff. She was like, okay.
Okay, Mom, do you want to lie down? You can do, but none of that.
You know, because the exercise at the beginning.
Oh yes, you have the recording, and for the massage, you'll just hear it.
Yeah.
And so everybody at home that is watching this, there's been like 20 minutes of empty visual and lots of talking. Yes, remind you.
Yeah, thank you.
Just send me a message.
Such a difference.
Yeah, no, I've done that before, particularly with the hip ones.
Yeah.
Sure, probably will be right now.
Otherwise I'll forget.
She did, yeah.
Make sure we remember that. And then it's every night from now on.
Okay, my lovelies, do you want to come and lie down? Now, if you're less than 20 weeks pregnant, you can lie on your back, providing it still feels. I forgot to ask you, Kaylee, how many weeks are you?
I'm just going to 15.
15, okay, so you're probably still okay as long as it's comfortable to lie on your back. So normally around 20 weeks is when the pressure on the vena cava gets too much. So as long as it's comfortable, you can lie on your back. After 20 weeks, then you might want to consider lying on a side, and it doesn't matter which side. And you know, we're only doing a sort of 10-minute relaxation. Sometimes we'll do longer ones because sometimes we need more relaxation.
And at that point, you might find that you want to switch sides. You might do 5 minutes on one side and think, yeah, no, the hips are going. I want to roll over and come on the other side, and that's absolutely fine. So your comfort is the most important thing, particularly when you're resting, because you want to be comfortable. I'm hoping that your hips actually might feel quite okay now in this lying down position. Okay, so just going to rest for the next few minutes. I'll put some music on. And just going to turn the light off as well, just to give you a little bit of darkness. So the interesting thing about darkness is lots of studies have shown that women birth better in low light. So there are three main things, and this is very primal. Three main things that women need when they're birthing. One is to feel safe, because if there's something happening and you feel anxious, then your body is going to shut down the process of birthing. And this is an ancient technique that would have saved the mum if a saber-toothed tiger had decided to come into the vicinity. But if she has her tribe outside the cave with spears, sending the saber-toothed tiger away, then the mum feels safe and comfortable, and she can consequently carry on with birth. So the first important thing is that mum feels safe. And the second thing is darkness. So again, the studies have shown that women respond much better hormonally in a low light situation. And when you think of sort of hospital wards, we haven't ticked any boxes yet, have we? Because they're quite often very brightly lit, and they're quite often scenes of stress and anxiety, the kind of white coat syndrome. So it's quite difficult to create the space that is intuitively what women want for birth, which is why a lot of midwifery-led units have all the sort of the antithesis of what a hospital labour ward looks like, because they understand this process of women needing to feel safe, to feel secure, to feel calm, and to have this low light option. And the third one is warmth, which most hospital wards can adequately supply you with, because they're usually overheated. So just embracing not the darkness, but the low light that we have here. Noticing how your body responds to this low light. Noticing the hormonal response. Now, ideally, the relaxation response has arisen. And hormonally, the relaxation response is the opposite of the fight or flight. So different hormones coming into play. So when we're birthing, there's a whole range of hormones that come into play that create the ideal environment for labour. And then fight or flight hormones will completely override those if they become too prominent. So this is another reason why this learning to relax, which can be something that actually needs to be learned. If you've never learned to relax, it may be that it's something that you need to spend some time getting to grips with, because it is going to be really important for labour. And also for parenting. Relaxed parents make better parents than stressed ones. Well, it's not always possible to be a relaxed parent. But the more relaxed we can be, better job. And again, it all comes down to that breath. So just feel the sensation of the breath as it moves through your nostrils. Feel the rhythm of the breath. So rhythm in any shape or form creates the relaxation response. So whether that's music provides rhythm. Whether it's being massage often has a rhythm. And this gentle in and out flow of the breath, which very much mimics the waves coming in and out on the shore. And as most of you probably have experienced, if you're sitting at the shoreline just watching waves come in and come out, it's that rhythm, it's very relaxing again. And the most prominent and obvious, and for you, very imminent example of how rhythm is relaxing is that parents naturally rock their babies when their babies are unhappy or distressed. And this is a natural response that every parent has inherently acquired. So if a baby is distressed, if a toddler is distressed, we naturally pick them up and we rock them. And babies respond very well to this rhythmical rocking. So just take a few more of these gentle rhythmical breaths. From here, you can just let go of that awareness of the breath. And then as we come to the end of our session this evening, just considering how you would like to begin your journey back into the seated position. So you might want to begin by gently moving your toes and gently moving your fingers. Just gradually awakening your body. And in your own time, slowly easing yourself back up into a comfortable seated position, and just noticing how you feel. So these classes are slightly different to regular yoga classes because there's not a big focus on the physicality. So noticing how you feel, how does the physical body feel? How does the mind feel? How is the emotional landscape now? And then it's nice to finish with some sound. And so traditionally we chant Om, which is R, U, 3 syllables, all kind of blending into one. And these 3 sounds resonate in different parts of the body. But they will also resonate around your baby, and I'm a really big believer that when we talk, when we sing, when we chant, these vibrations are taken down into our babies, and they love the sound of singing, they love the sound of our voice, and particularly that sound is incredibly soothing for babies. So if you would like to join in with me, then please do, otherwise you can just sit and listen. So taking a breath in. And again, there's something magical about that little quality of the sound that leaves us with this wonderful sense of calm. Thank you so much, beautiful yoginis, for your presence here this evening, for coming out on a cold, wintry night. I very much appreciate you being here. Namaste. Namaste.